Hi, everybody. Thank you for attending today's webinar with Politico. Today, we're going to be talking with Michelle Bastian and Jackie Ramsay. Both of them work at Politico's talent acquisition department. And they're going to be talking to you guys today about how to get hired at Politico and give you a little bit more information about the newsroom. Jackie, you can go ahead.
Nice. Okay, so Michelle and I have prepared a presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and share now. All right. And then we can go through some questions at the end, but thank you all so much for joining us on this Thursday, 5 p.m. here. I don't know where everyone else is, but I appreciate you joining me at the end of the day. So we're just going to go through Politico, what we're all about, and we're going to talk about some of our teams and opportunities and how you can apply. So we'll just go ahead and get started here with some intros. So we wanted to introduce ourselves to begin. Again, my name is Jackie Ramsay. I'm a talent acquisition partner at Politico. It's just a fancy way to say recruiter. I joined the organization about, I think, 8 or so months ago. Michelle and I both started virtually, so we can definitely speak to that. But I help to recruit for the newsroom, also some of our administrative teams. I work on community partnerships and social media. So on our team, we wear a lot of hats, but we're really excited to be here with you.
And I will jump in next. So my name is Michelle Bastian. I'm working on the talent acquisition team with Jackie and our other partners. My job is mostly to support the team through scheduling interviews and just various talent projects. So our candidate experience, our talent community newsletter, sourcing for our open roles, and just anything else that the team needs assistance with. I am based out of Florida, actually. I work remotely, so that is where I am joining from today. And I have been with Politico for a year now, joined last April. So that's super exciting. And it's really great to see you all here.
I forgot it was your year, Michelle.
Yeah, it was actually yesterday, which is so exciting.
Oh my gosh. Yay.
I didn't really think I should say anything. I was like, oh, we'll see each other soon. So
okay.
We'll celebrate.
I love it. All right.
Cool. And then just for a quick agenda, so we'll start with talking about the newsroom and just all the different products that we have and platforms here. We'll also jump into some of the opportunities that we have featured for our newsroom, what we look for when we're hiring for the newsroom, so some tips there. A little bit more about other teams, just so you can get a feel for the entirety of the organization and not just the newsroom. We'll jump into a little bit about our culture, how to stay in touch, of course, super important, and then we'll jump into some Q&A at the end.
All right. So first, I want to talk about the newsroom. And so we have a couple of primary products that have been with us really since the beginning in 2007. And so I wanted to start in the middle, which is Politico.com. It's where all of our stories are held, over, I would say, 100 a day. It's our primary product and news source. And so we are print, but I think mostly have really navigated to a digital platform. And then over on the left here, it's called Politico Pro. And so what this is it's our intelligence policy platform, and over 30,000 people across the world subscribe to this. And it's really just a one-stop shop for what's going on the Hill. So who's there, the staffers, the senators, the congressmen, and also what bills are being voted on that day. It's a really cool platform, and we have reporters that work on it. We have researchers that work on it, and business people that help to reach new clients for this platform. So something we're really, really proud of. And then over on the right-hand side is Playbook. A lot of you might be familiar with that. And so this is something that we use to just, what you need to know about what's going on in politics. And so we have Playbook, we have a newsletter, we have a podcast on Playbook, we have playbooks for different states like California and Florida. So it's just a really great way to figure out what's going on in Washington in any given day or week. And then some new products. So over the years, we've dabbled into a few different areas. So on the left here is Politico Magazine. It's more long form journalism and enterprise. So thinking about, it's kind of a step away from breaking news. So opinion pieces, investigative writing. So the magazine is a really great place to kind of take away from the hustle and bustle of the news cycle. you will. And then in the center is our video. So we have a pretty robust and growing video team on YouTube, and we're expanding into different platforms. We actually are hiring for 5 or 6 new video roles right now to produce on Snapchat. So our video platforms are growing and we're always looking for talent there. And then on the right-hand side is our podcast Pulse Check. We have about 5 different podcasts that we produce on a daily, weekly, or longer form basis. And so audio opportunities at Politico on politics and different policy areas. So I think there's just a lot of ways to get involved, and again, really growing digital and versatile platforms. All right, so Politico on the map. I think a lot of people might not know that we are so expansive around the US and across the world. So we have our headquarters in Arlington, Virginia, that's right outside of DC. And then we have bureaus. And so we have state bureaus in California and Florida, New Jersey, and New York, and expanding. So those state bureaus are really going to look at the policy on politics happenings of that state. So think about elections, think about maybe COVID policies that are different in every single state. So that's what our bureaus are focusing on. We also have a bureau in Canada, we have a bureau in Europe, and we are expected to grow even more. So I think it's really exciting. All right, and then wanted to give a little bit of history here on Politico. I think a lot of people might not realize how young of a company we are. This year, we actually are celebrating our 15th year anniversary. And think about a lot of other competitors for us have been around since the 1800s or even 1960, 1980. Politico launched in 2007, and so we started out as a newspaper. We grew into Playbook, we grew into our policy platform, our magazine, and then 7 years later, we are going into states and Europe. And so I think what's really exciting here is where we're headed now. So in 2021, we were acquired by a German company called Axel Springer, and their plans are to take Politico global as a publication. So think even beyond Europe. And we're also expected to double in size, expand into more states and countries, and dabble into more areas, data journalism, graphic journalism. So lots of possibilities. I really wanted to share that I think the next 5 to 10 years are going to be really huge for our growth as a brand. All right, and now going to transition into some opportunities in the newsroom. Now, I'm not sure if anyone's looking for an internship, but I really wanted to start here because this is just a really great way to get started. So 2 different internships that I wanted to talk about. And first is our headquarters editorial internship. This is going to be full-time. It's really amazing opportunity to work directly under journalists and editors. And so the desk assignments that interns can work on are breaking news, politics, our magazine, Politico Pro, that policy platform I talked about earlier, and also E&E News. And so that is our energy and environmental team. What's cool about our internship is that we have programming. So you'll get to shadow maybe an editor, or you'll get to learn how to enhance your copy editing, or you'll get to go on a site visit to Capitol Hill under some reporters and do some field work there. So you're not only getting some exposure in the newsroom, but also outside. And so we hire for internships spring, summer, and fall. I definitely encourage anyone to apply early because we fill these roles probably almost a year in advance, especially for summer and spring. So for example, summer 2023, we'll be hiring for this fall. Okay. And fall is open now. And then bureau internships. So these are a little bit different. I think they're more designed for students or working people who want a part-time internship. So you can work with our New York, New Jersey, Florida, or California bureaus. And again, this is going to focus more on the state and local politics of that area that you'd be working in. So we have a New York City internship open right now, and our other bureaus kind of hire on an as needed and rolling basis. So Carol, the Florida Bureau, it started, I think that was one of our last ones. So right after California, relatively new, so about 5 to 7 years ago.
Thank you.
Of course, try them onto the chat too. All right. So another program that I think is one of my favorites is the Politico Fellows. And so this is a one-year program. It's brand new. We just started it about 2 years ago. And so 4 fellows are selected every year. And they basically just get a one-year crash course into reporting. So what's really cool is that you'll be able to, in this program, do some rotation. So you'll get to cover the White House, get to cover Congress and policy areas like healthcare and tech. And you'll just get exposure to all these different areas and get to, get some reporting in and publish in all of these areas, which is great. You'll get training sessions and mentoring. So again, you'll get I think fellows get a session, a copy editor comes in and does some training, sourcing expert comes in and helps you to learn how to diversify your sources. So we wanna help develop you as you're in this program. Full salary and benefits with the program, which is really exciting, and an invitation to a full-time role upon successful completion. So I really want to push the Fellows program because I think this is more for experienced people who have a couple of years of experience in a newsroom or in journalism. So not for college, but I think for beyond that. A wonderful opportunity going to be opening up in the fall. All right, and then another opportunity I wanted to talk about was digital producer. So I think this is also a really great way to get started in the newsroom. What we love to say is that this is the last line of defense before stories go live. So copy editing and making sure that everything looks good, fact checking and looking for grammar and spelling. Positioning our stories on the website strategically. So think about what our audience wants to see and then putting them in a certain area where they're going to get the most traction. Strategizing on how news reaches our audience and exploring your own projects. So I've seen people in this role do some reporting. They've done some social media. They've taken on more of a strategy role in sending out news alerts at a certain time. So I think it's a cool way to get exposure on the logistics of the newsroom, but also to get exposure into different areas that you're interested in as well. This role is always available because we're always looking. It's a huge team of about 15 to 20 digital producers at once. So if anyone's interested, it's available now and we are hiring for it.
Awesome. Yeah, so here we just have, a lot of different roles open, or a couple of examples are on the screen. There's a big diversity in roles that we hire in the newsroom, like some of the ones that Jackie has mentioned. Audio and video, reporters, editors, graphic designers, things of that sort, web developers. So we kind of look for them all in the newsroom. So if you don't see something on the screen that we kind of, talks to your career goals and your experience, we definitely encourage you to look at our politico.com/careers page and see if there's something that does resonate with you, because chances are there will be something, which is super great. Now we'll kind of move into what we're looking for when we hire in the newsroom. So these are just a couple of tips that are on the screen here. So definitely looking for that demonstration of passion for political reporting and journalism, and also a strong interest in Politico. We'd love to know why Politico. Why would you love to work here? What do you think you could, bring to the table? We also love to see previous experience in newsroom or even writing experience. And then clips is a super great way to, stand out in your application. We typically like to see 5 to 7 stories you've written on your own. Published would definitely be best, but if they're not published, that's also fine, and you can upload those to your application as well. In addition to the things above, some of the things you can do that would be great are just doing your homework on the role, so knowing a lot about the role, the team, and of course, our mission and values, and kind of lining that up with your personal mission and your values as well. We'll all go, big strides to get you noticed in your applications to these roles. Now, just quickly, a couple of the other departments and teams that we have within the organization. So Politico Pro, the platform that Jackie mentioned earlier for our policy professionals. It's a little bit different than the politico.com website that a lot of us use. It's really for those who use that policy in their day-to-day work. It's very deep coverage of those topics. Many of our newsroom employees do work on that in a bunch of different areas. It does cover, I believe, 20 plus areas in terms of policy. So there's a lot of need for reporters in the Politico Pro area. We also have audience solutions. So if you're thinking about advertising, That's going to be our audience solutions team. So if you're seeing ads on Politico.com in our podcasts, that is the audience solutions team at work. So they build those ads from start to finish. And you can kind of think of them as taking selling our audience to others. We also have a product and tech team. So they're helping to execute those products, such as our core Politico.com site, Pro, all the podcasts and newsletters that Jackie mentioned earlier, our mobile app, just a ton of things that they get to work on. And they're just ensuring that we're continuing to grow and maintaining that editorial excellence. And then last, but certainly not least, shared services, which is where Jackie and I sit as part of HR. Also included in shared services is our finance and communications teams. And communications at Politico is a little bit more like PR, so helping, our newsroom team to make those connections to get, those media appearances and such. And then next, we'll jump into a little bit about our culture. So you'll see here just a bunch of things on the bulleted right side. So we do have a lot of internal programming, so things such as engagement series, lunch and learns that you can attend. There's also our editorial pipeline committee. For those who are super passionate about finding great talent for our newsroom, you can always jump into that and help out. We also have a lot of Slack channels. So we are a hybrid workforce now, so it's really important to, connect with others, especially for someone like me when I'm not, in the office. I don't have a chance to be in the office all the time. It's a nice way to kind of connect with others. You'll see a couple of examples on here. Dogs is definitely one of my favorites. I don't currently have a dog, but it doesn't stop me from looking at all the cute pictures of everyone else's dogs. But there are a ton of others as well, and you can always search the system and see something that appeals to you and others that you would want to connect with across the organization. We also have wellness programs, so kind of operating through Slack as well through our wellness Slack channel. This features content to keep wellness top of mind. We actually have a contest going on right now to keep Politicos moving. If you are able to, move and track 70 miles, walking, running, biking, snowboarding, whatever have you, you're entered into win a really cool prize of either a treadmill or a rowing machine. So I have to step up my game. I know we have a couple of weeks left. I'm not getting quite there yet, but it's really fun ways to, talk about wellness with others and just get inspired with new things to do outside. We also have random acts of coffee. So all of our new hires are enrolled in this, but a lot of others are encouraged and do join this as well. So in this program, you're paired with another Politico to meet up, either in person or virtually for just a coffee chat. And you can talk about anything you desire. It doesn't have to be about work, but I found it's a great way to talk with others and just get to know different areas of the business and meet others that are, in different groups that are not your own. We also have our mentoring network. So anyone who's been with Politico for 6 months at least is encouraged to join. You can join as a mentor or a mentee. And our HR team is actually redesigning the program right now to include both long-term and short-term relationships. So whether you're looking for, a long-term relationship where maybe you meet monthly and just talk through what's going on. Maybe you're interested in having a short-term relationship where you have a current project that's, you just need some advice on, or maybe a promotion in sight that you want some advice on as well. So that would be a great thing to take advantage of. And then in the last bullet, you'll see a couple of our wonderful benefits, such as 24 weeks of paid parental leave. And of course, we have flexible vacation and remote working options for people like me. Awesome. So we'd love to, stay in touch with everyone. There are some options on the screen here and just good ways to reach out to us. Jackie does manage our social media on Instagram and Twitter, and also our Meet Politico blog. So feel free to give those a follow and check them out. We'll also be sending out a follow-up email after this with just our contact information and any of the links here in case you miss them, want to check them out. But of course, thank you for everyone who joined us today, and we're really looking forward to getting to know you all more and hearing your questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much for putting together that presentation. I did have a few questions.
Of course.
Okay, so first of all, does Politico take freelancers or anything like that, or is it just strictly staff reporters?
Yeah, absolutely. So contract, freelance, and temp. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier about some of the video opportunities, we have 5 new video roles. They're all temporary 1-year contracts. And so I'm definitely open to those types of work arrangements for sure.
Awesome. Okay. And what kinds of things do you look for in contributed pieces then?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, definitely thinking about the subject matter that we cover, policy and politics, and thinking about our audience. And so something that I think Politico does really well is that they take a complex issue and really make it in a digestible way for people to understand. And so I think coming at it with an angle of, again, remembering Politico's style, but then also remembering that sometimes, the average person, they need a little bit of an explainer to have it resonate with them. So I think just having that, really just having that deep knowledge of what we cover, deep knowledge of our subject areas is really important to us.
Okay. And then really quick, I'm going to let Ken go ahead and ask his question because he raised his hand. You can go ahead.
Hi, I noticed that all of your bureaus are on the East or West Coast. I wondered when you guys are thinking of moving into the interior of the country.
Yeah. So I don't know about immediate plans, but I think what we're really focused on is, what's the next policy battleground? I think that's kind of why we're focused on California and Florida, is that, there's a lot of happenings there. I've heard buzzing about Texas, maybe about Illinois, maybe about Georgia, sometime in the future, just because of how that political environment has been over the last several years in election cycles. So nothing solidified yet, but I would say because of all of the expansion that's going to happen over the next 5 to 10 years, and within that time frame, I could definitely see that happening.
Okay. And then JP has raised his hand as well. You can go ahead.
Thanks for taking my question. I guess my question regards like the specialization, and like there's like various like policy fields that like people can that they can have as their beat. Generally, do people kind of come from like a general news background and then decide to be just energy or just tax policy, or are they usually already specializing in that kind of thing and stepping into that? I know this organization, a lot of people are super interested in defense, security, policy, foreign policy and such.
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. I think I see both things happening, right? So we have very specialized and niche areas. We're hiring for an antitrust reporter right now, healthcare reporters. And so for those type of really niche topics, having some background on that specific area, previous coverage, deep knowledge is really, really important. But I think if you're coming from more of a generalist background, the politics reporter, breaking news reporter, an editor, that kind of opening is very general. And then when you're here, you have opportunity to then, dip your toes into different areas and then maybe cross over to a different area. So I think there's opportunities for everyone. It's just those very, very niche ones. Having that knowledge is really important.
And then Ray, raised.
Yeah, I had a question. I'm a transgender lawyer based in San Francisco, and I'm really interested in writing about like the draconian laws that just showed up, in which doctors who prescribe puberty blockers and things for trans people are facing 10-year sentences and stuff. So I was wondering, where is the California office located? Is it Sacramento based, or?
Yes.
And would you be open to having somebody work remotely, because obviously California doesn't pass those kinds of laws?
Yeah,
absolutely. The blue, what is it? The red states do them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So if I have a focus like that, would I pitch that as what I want to do? I mean, that's kind of what my clips are like and all that.
Yeah, I would definitely suggest to also, if you see Politico's coverage on policy related to that, if there's a way you could take a look at that coverage and maybe tie it in there. Just looking for a similar story, but absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff. I mean, it just does not seem constitutionally sound at all to be doing that stuff. So cool.
Yeah,
thank you.
Of course.
And then on that same kind of note then, what would you suggest those interested in working for Politico do? Are there specific tips, tricks that you would give for the application process?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I think what we get a lot of applications, and it's a lot of people that are interested in getting into political news or getting into news or being a part of a journalism organization. But what I think is really key for us is why Politico. And I know that Michelle had mentioned that earlier is, what about our coverage? What about what we do? What about our mission really resonates with you? Because I think, being in the space of policy and politics, I think you really need to have a really deep passion for it. And so I think having that and making that very known, this is why I want to work at Politico, and here's why. This is what I've seen. It shows that you have that really strong intellectual curiosity about what we cover. I think that quality is present in every single person that works here. So I would say make that very known in a cover letter or in a resume, thinking about what have you covered that is relevant at Politico. But also as far as a cover letter, even though we don't require you to submit one, I completely 100% recommend that you do, because I think that that's a way for you to make yourself stand out, make yourself put yourself into it, show your personality and get creative with it, because I think that just kind of, again, that shows that you're doing that extra mile. You're being innovative in the interview process. We're looking for that from applications. So I would definitely say to get creative, show who you are, and also show more about your knowledge and your passion for Politico.
And on a kind of related note, are there specific things that inform what Politico covers?
I would say we're always just trying to be very relevant and competitive in the space. And so we're really open to different areas. And so I would say whatever is really proving to be what our audience is looking for. And so we recently launched a cybersecurity newsletter. It's not really something we've ever done before, but it's something that has come from really high demand from our audience. And so I think that is also something that we really do at Politico is listen to what our audience wants us to cover and try and devote our resources there. So we really want to connect with those that are reading our content and serve them where they are. I think that's so important here, but also in journalism, that you have to reach your audience where they are. So I definitely think that drives our coverage.
Awesome. And is that part of the engagement team that you mentioned earlier? Is that something they handle?
Absolutely, yeah. So we have a pretty robust engagement team and growing, and we have a role at Politico I think is really cool as an executive editor of growth, and so she's really focused on what's next for us. And so I love that title. I love what she does. Her name's Louisa Savage, if anyone's interested in looking into her. But yeah, we're always kind of focused on what's the next thing to do.
Awesome. Okay, and does Politico do any local political coverage, or is it more on like a state and national kind of level?
Yeah, there's absolutely local coverage. I think that's more for the state bureaus, like I said. So especially, because our state bureaus where they're located, so California is Sacramento, New Jersey is Trenton, and New York City. So I think it's very local in the places that the bureaus are located. So Trenton, Politics, Sacramento. So local for sure.
I would agree with you. I definitely glance at Florida Playbook each morning, and I would say, it is the state bureau, but within the state, it's kind of hard also not to be local. So I think sometimes, depending on what's big in the state, that morning or that week, they kind of pick and choose, the areas, and they cover those local stories as well.
Awesome. I think the last question that I had, about how long does the hiring process take, if you can give any comment on that? I know every case is a little bit different, but what should people normally expect?
Yeah, I can answer them. Michelle is our interview coordinator, so definitely knows how long the process takes. I would say once a role is posted, we take a little bit to sort through applications. We also like to reach out to people who haven't applied, because I think passive talent is really important to us if people aren't necessarily looking for a job. So I think just that review process is long for us. It could take, depending on how long we want to fill the opening. So I would say anywhere from a week to a couple of months, depending what's needed. But then the interview processes typically take a couple of weeks. I know, Michelle, you could speak more to that.
Yeah, I would say they take a couple of weeks. I think it also will depend on how senior of a role it is. I think sometimes if it's a little bit more of a senior role, sometimes it can take just a couple of weeks longer. But typically you can expect, interviews, Zoom interviews, possibly, an assignment. So maybe a copy editing test or something like that. And then most of our newsroom applicants do meet, if they make it to the final round, with our editor-in-chief, Matt Kaminsky, which is a really cool opportunity as well.
And I believe Russell has his hand raised. Russell, you can go ahead.
Sure. Thanks, ladies, so much for giving this whole presentation for us, and for being here and giving the time to our veterans and family members, first of all. And I wanted to ask a little bit more. Maybe this involves your mentorship program. Maybe this involves just the general way that your editors work with your reporters. But it is kind of a little bit intimidating to imagine your first day at the newsroom in Politico, right? I mean, I feel like Politico has so many tentacles in politics, and it really sort of lives up to its reputation to be this political insider kind of thing. And I want to know, for people who get hired, for new hires, what is there in terms of ways to help them grow, to build more sources, to learn more about how news reporting is done at your organization? Is it kind of a welcoming sort of thing? And what are the sort of processes that our members, if they get hired, what can they expect to do to grow in the early months of their time there?
I love that. Absolutely. So since I've stepped into some more newsroom hiring, I'm on all the newsroom distro lists. So anything internal in the newsroom I'm seeing. And one thing that I really love is that there are monthly and also bi-weekly training courses. So I just got one about coaching and fixing how editors can help writers. There's ones for an intro into healthcare. There's something for how to incorporate data journalism, how to design a graphic. So there's different courses that anybody in the newsroom can take advantage of. And so within the newsroom also, I think there's more of a mentoring program that's more informal. So, being able to stretch into different projects and, shadow in different ways and try new things out. And one thing that I really love is that I'm working on some audio roles right now, and the hiring manager is telling me if there's anyone else in the newsroom that is interested in trying out audio, I'm here to train them. I want to grow somebody in the newsroom. And so I love that. And I'm seeing that more with managers, and being able to really cultivate internal hiring and provide those opportunities to learn and shadow and grow. So those are some of the things. And I think definitely when people come into Politico, they're definitely encouraged to network and try out different things. Everyone's very receptive and welcoming. So I think, some of that would be up to the person too, whatever they want to explore.
So it is definitely possible, if somebody wants to come in one field and then figures out they'd like to try something else, they can do that.
Oh, absolutely. I see that a lot. It's because I'm hiring for the digital producer role that I talked about earlier. And I see a lot of different career paths where some of them are interested in growing into production. They become more senior, they become a deputy director, or maybe they become a reporter or a correspondent. So absolutely. I think you just need to come in and make that note and not be afraid to speak up for yourself and take on those extra opportunities outside of your role.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for answering that. Does anybody else have any questions? I know Carol.
Or if somebody's coming from a public radio background, would that be interesting right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very tuned to NPR and member stations, and when I'm looking for people in the roles, because I think it's such a strong experience. So absolutely.
Would you be the person to contact directly?
Please, yes.
Okay, good to know. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And kind of on that same note, because that just made me think of something, is Politico planning on expanding into other forms of journalism at any point, like radio broadcasting?
I don't know so much about that. I would say just like continuing to expand in subject areas. So like I said, this antitrust or cybersecurity or the transgender policy that someone mentioned earlier, I think it's more going to be in those subject areas, and also the regions around the country and around the world. I see is the most demand for expansion right now.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions? Feel free to go ahead.
Wait, I got one.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. In terms of like social media presence, what kind of social media presence are you guys looking for? Are you looking for someone who is out there and has a lot of presence, or can that sometimes be a bad thing?
I would say probably both, but I think what's the most important is that whenever somebody is hired at Politico, and Michelle shares this when she schedules someone for an interview, is that you need to make sure that you're staying neutral. We are nonpartisan. We do not affiliate with any political party, and so when you're signing up to work at Politico, you have to make sure that you're not affiliating yourself with any party. You can't donate to any party, and so that's something that you have to make a choice when you're coming in. And so I would definitely say for some roles, hiring managers are looking at social media presence. And so if you have a lot of content in one area or extreme content, I would say it probably isn't the best look. But I think, again, it's just like if you are in the later stages of the process, you just need to be aware that you're making that decision to be hired here.
Awesome.
It's a really good question.
And then I think a little bit more on the interview process. I think, are there any tips that you guys can give for that? What does it look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it depends on the role. Typically for reporting or newsroom, I guess reporting specifically, what we really like to see are some clips or portfolio. So whether that be within submission of your application or maybe a little bit later, I think that always helps, just so we don't have to go out and look for it. But for example, for some audio roles that I'm hiring for, the hiring manager really wants to see some examples. And so attaching those is always helpful. But interview processes typically are anywhere between, I want to say, 2 to 5 interviews. I think it's important to, get to know your immediate team, but also the different stakeholders and people that you would be working with. Sometimes there is a performance element to it. So for one of the audio roles I'm hiring, the hiring manager wants candidates to pick apart a podcast episode that we did. So say everything that's wrong with it and what you would fix. So I think that kind of goes back to that intellectual curiosity part of what really is appealing for candidates. But I would say most of them are interviews, but also some performance elements as well. Michelle, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Yeah, just to kind of touch on a couple of things that you mentioned, I think that adding your portfolio or clips is super huge. I know when I'm scheduling, like if you attach it to your application, I'm going to send it to the team. So if you choose to upload your clips separately, that's fine. If you put them all into a sheet and kind of take it as a PDF and upload that, that's also fine. Definitely highly recommend putting your name on it. I know that saves our team a lot of time. And then in terms of the interview process, I think that's true. Typically, you'll meet with the hiring manager first, and then meet a couple of other people on the team. And then, as Jackie mentioned, anyone who would be, someone who you would work with a lot, even if it's, on a different team. That's probably someone who will have you meet during the process as well. Typically, those will be 30-minute interviews. Sometimes it'll be, a couple of people in an interview and you. Sometimes it'll just be a one-on-one interview.
Yeah, something else I just thought of too is I think someone should be prepared if they were going to interview to review Politico and review maybe the team or the team's content beforehand. A question that hiring managers ask me a lot is, can you ask them what they would change about our coverage, or can you ask them what stood out or something that they didn't like and how they would do it better? So I would say to come equipped with that for an interview, even if it feels uncomfortable, which it can be.
In terms of clips, I know you both mentioned those. Should they try to be related to Politico type content, or is it anybody's game kind of thing?
Yeah, I think that definitely helps to make it relevant to our content or the position you're applying for. But I also think it's cool to see some versatility. So, if you have different types of stories, so maybe more longer form enterprise pieces, investigative pieces, but maybe also breaking news or subject area. It's helpful.
Okay, well, I think that, does anybody else have any questions? This is the last call.
And of course, if anyone thinks of any and you can't think of one right now, we'll have our email addresses to you very soon. So feel free to reach out to us, connect with us on LinkedIn if that's easier as well. And of course, you can always ask us in the future.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you guys very much, and thank you, military veterans and journalism. This has been a really good thing to be a part of. Appreciate it a lot.
Thanks, we appreciate it. All right, well, thank you to everybody who joined us today. Again, if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to Jackie and Michelle at any point. We'll get you their emails, everything you could need to contact them. Thank you so much again for attending, and thank you to Jackie and Michelle for being here. We appreciate it. We will see you guys at the next webinar.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone.